From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One ball, corner pocket.
Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
And Corey Clark.
Good sight. New. Hank.
Wake up! What is up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Coming up on today's show, observations from practice the other day and reacting to news of Darrell Jackson not receiving his waiver, ineligible for the 2023 season. Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Tallahassee, Florida, cptallybar.com, the website, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. The real McCoy, the authentic article, the actual facility, the place, the legendary Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Lunch specials weekdays, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Wednesdays, 5-piece chicken wings. Some say the best chicken wings in Tallahassee. Most say the best chicken wings in Tallahassee. 5-piece chicken wings and French fries, $8.99 at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. And don't forget, Thursday will be bingo night, 7 p.m. Test your bingo skills to win drinks and prizes all over at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Again, 24
cash.
Whoa,
Cash. You
whoa.
win cash. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's $250 if you win.
Ooh, American currency.
Yeah.
Very nice. Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. 5-star rating and review, please. Thumbs up as well. I think today's the last day of the promo, Corey. $1 for a month of access to warchant.com or 25% off an entire year. So this is it, kind of the last call. Get on the bus with all of us as we go to Houston for the national title game. What did we say? Is it Pasadena's one of the bowl games, and maybe the Sugar Bowl's the other? I should know this.
Sugar Bowl's definitely one. I think the Rose Bowl is the other, yeah.
Okay, so hop along with us. Don't be a fan later, or whatever the kids say these days. So join warchant.com. Corey, how are you, man?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
I'm well, man. I'm riding high the other day, practice, played a little Tupac. Threw it back to like 96, a little All Eyes on Me. Really put some pep in my step. Felt really good out there. A little variety, mixing some oldies, if you will.
Yeah.
Listen. I'm not against rap. I'm not against rappers. But I am against the trash. I just don't like the stuff today. I don't think it's all that good, everybody. I'm the old man. I need the classics. A little Biggie, a little Tupac, a little Bone, E40. I need to throw it back.
Okay.
But I'm well. That picked me up. How about you? How was your car purchasing experience? Or you want to save that for later in the pod?
It worked out, man. It worked out.
Nice.
It came just in time for me to get it and then drive over to the studio. My maiden voyage was driving to the studio to record headlines with Jeff and I. I thought I was going to have to record it from my kitchen, but I didn't. I got to go and get there in studio and make all that magic happen in person.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure you're mildly nauseous after having to write about it and then talk about it. But I guess let's get to it right now then. Darrell Jackson, Havana, Florida native, went to the University of Maryland out of high school and then the University of Miami. By virtue of that, needed to have a special waiver approved to be eligible for the 2023 season. After practice on Tuesday, Coach Mike Norvell informed us that they learned late last week that the waiver had been denied. So that means that Darrell Jackson, as we sit here and talk about it, will not be eligible for the 2023 season. Probably lots to unpack. Where do we go from here? Why did he get denied? Is the NCAA corrupt? Should we spam Stan Wilcox's Twitter account to show our displeasure? But I guess let's start on the football field first. Doesn't help the cause, okay, obviously, right? Does not help the cause to not have this kid available. I am not changing my outlook for this team this season. I'm disappointed for him personally on a personal level. This is a bummer to not be able to play the game you love for an entire year now. But this team will pick up and carry on, and I don't think they'll miss much of a step. Not to denigrate his ability, but I just think this team, the way they're built, the way this coaching staff has developed things, laid the foundation, I think on the football field they'll be all right. What do you think, Corey?
Yeah, probably. But let's not be dismissive of what he would have meant. He was probably the best defensive lineman that played consistently in the spring. There were times where he was just a wrecking ball, and it was almost like get him off the field so he can run some plays. He had that ability. Now he had never proven in either of his two stops to be like this consistent force, but that ceiling was pretty darn high. And even if he wasn't going to start for you, bringing a Darrell Jackson in for 30 snaps off the bench, off the sideline, is something that most college football teams can't do. And I think it could have made you special up front. Now, I think Florida State can still be very good up front. And I don't think I changed my win-loss expectations or anything because of Darrell Jackson. Yeah. But I don't know, man. Like, I just think the difference between, like, the Georgias and Alabamas right now in Florida State is depth up front on the defensive line. And I should put it this way. What's been the difference? In that, well, there's been plenty of differences. But Florida State, I thought, had a Georgia-Alabama-like defensive line if Darrell Jackson was available. Not just in talent, maybe a step down from like the elite talent that those schools have, but the depth that you could roll in. Like, okay, Fabian and Fisk are tired. All right, we'll roll in Farmer and Darrell Jackson. Like, that's not a quartet that the centers of most offensive lines can deal with for 60 minutes. They will be wrecked by the fourth quarter, and now you just lost a piece, a substantial piece. But, you know, again, I don't know that he was going to start. I think I'm not trying to dismiss it. This isn't sour grapes. I think he was probably going to play 30 to 35 snaps a game, and those were going to be important snaps, and I think he had a chance to be a game changer. But now you've got to find somebody else to fill those snaps. Is it going to be Dennis Briggs?
I think so.
Can he get anywhere close to the level that Darrell Jackson probably would have given you? Can the combination of Briggs and Tafasi or Lyons, if they mix in there, could they give you what Darrell Jackson was going to give you? Because, man, I'll tell you right now, Fisk has been great, right?
Fisk has. Yeah. And maybe that's part of the reason why I'm not as devastated. But again, I wish we had him. But
imagine if you would have had – if he would have been as good or as Fisk has been, or Fisk could be. Like, man, that's a dynamic duo, and then you're not even talking about Fabian and Farmer. So that's what's the bummer of it for the football team is you had elite defensive tackle depth, maybe 4 NFL players at defensive tackle rotating in. That is a luxury that most people don't have. Now you've got a trio of 3 that I think you're counting on for sure, and then you're hoping a Briggs, a Tafasi, a Lyons steps up and becomes that 4th guy. But it's a loss, man. I think it's a big loss. I don't think it's a devastating loss because you've got so much other experience and talent on the football field still.
Yeah, well said. Last season started all games for Miami. Let me see here real quick. 3 where he played more than 40 snaps in a game. So I think he would have fallen into that sort of category you put for that role, I guess you kind of carved out there, Corey, about having him come off and give it 30-35. So you won't have that, obviously, and that is a bummer. But, again, I just think this team probably has enough to pick up the slack. And, yeah, man, Malcolm Ray's another guy that's been here for a while. Yeah. Maybe he can help out with Briggs and Tafasi and give you something as long as
I would say
Daniel
this,
Lyons.
And I'm not trying to denigrate Malcolm Ray. And Dennis Briggs, it's hard to say because he's never really been a defensive tackle for a long period of time and he's been hurt. But, you know, Malcolm Ray is he's not Darrell Jackson. You know what I mean? Like
clearly.
That's Darrell Jackson could have been a dude. Like, Darrell Jackson could have been a guy that won you a game. Like, just one of those guys that picture like
Eddie Goldman making Clemson leak their pants on the goal line.
Yeah, or I was going to even say, like, once DeMarcus Walker moved inside against Ole Miss and just wrecked them. He's not as good as Eddie Goldman. He's not as good as DeMarcus Walker is, not consistently. But he could have had a quarter like that. He could have found a mismatch on a line of scrimmage and dominated that guy. And made 2 or 3 impactful plays in a game that turned the game around. I don't know if any of these other guys have that ability. I'm not saying they don't. We just haven't seen it yet. I saw it in the spring with Darrell Jackson, man. That guy, and even a little bit here to start preseason. That guy has had the chance to be different. So that's what makes it such a bummer.
Thoughts on the ruling here? I guess do we know whether or not this was a ruling on the appeal? Did the appeal already get denied, and this was an appeal on the waiver?
I would think the waiver probably – we talked about that on headlines. I think the waiver had probably already been denied, and then they appealed it.
Okay.
And then the appeal And maybe they just do a blanket, like, some insurance companies. It's just a blanket denial no matter what, and you have to appeal it. Maybe that's what it was with the NCAA with the two-time transfers. They just deny it right away, and then you have to make the appeal as to why this should happen. And then that was denied. But what's so frustrating about it is, look, man, if Florida State fans take a step back and think, like, the issue with this is with the two-time transfer, with something like this, is now the NCAA has to go investigate like medical records, and they can't do anything. It's an incompetent institution. So I don't know that we want the NCAA to be in the middle of having to look at medical records to determine the validity of somebody's sickness or health, or what they have to do to help. Like the North Carolina wide receiver, who was really good, I think. I can't remember where he was coming from. He got denied too on Tuesday. A really big blow for them because I think he was like a preseason All-ACC guy, and he was denied. He had come to live in back to North Carolina to be close to his ailing grandmother, and I guess the NCAA is like, well, does she really need you? I don't know what the reasoning is for the ruling. So I guess the rule will just be now. It just so happens that guy and now Darrell Jackson are, I think, part of the first class of guys that are they're just going to do blanket denials. And there's really nothing to get you to they're not going to have some stipulation where you can transfer a second time without having to sit out a year. And they did have one. That's why we were all so confident that but it seems like they're really taking a stern approach to this one and basically saying, no matter what, that second transfer, you have to sit out a year. Doesn't that seem like that? Like with these two in particular, like there's no rhyme or reason as to why these would have been denied while others in previous years had not been denied, other than they're taking a stand and saying, no, we're letting you transfer freely one time. After that, you're sitting out a year.
Doing this on the fly, but our own Matt Zenitz of On3 reported that there was a bit of a wrinkle the NCAA threw into the rule book earlier this year, January 11th, where they wanted to kind of tighten up the process of being able to be a multi-time transfer. So they made it to where moving forward, student athletes must meet one of the following criteria to be granted a waiver to compete immediately. So they only gave you really two avenues. One avenue was demonstrated physical injury or illness or mental health condition that necessitated your transfer. So that's like this is I've got a bad knee. I want to be closer to a better doctor. Yada yada. Second one was exigent circumstances that clearly necessitate a student athlete's immediate departure. Examples would be physical assault or abuse, Northwestern, perhaps sexual assault as well, unrelated to the student athlete's athletics participation. So like this, my parents, like the family dynamic kind of thing that's outside your orbit, like it doesn't have to do with you, holistically, like you yourself, nor the kind of circumstance of your enrollment at a university where you're in danger because you have a coaching staff or a trainer or a teammate that's done something to you. Like those are the only reasons they were going to give you an out. Now, is that fair? No, but apparently that's what they did because listen, man, they are toothless, the NCAA, but they decided they wanted to die on one hill, and this is the hill they wanted to die on, was to not let kids go back and forth.
That too. Like I get why you would let, if a guy felt bullied or he felt hazed, and had to do car washes. I get why you would allow him to leave after he'd already transferred to Northwestern. But I don't know if that's any more valid than wanting to go take care of a sick relative or be close to a sick relative.
Yeah,
why would you be eligible for the next year then, but not eligible to be close to your sick mom? Like, make it a blanket. You can't transfer twice and be eligible immediately that second time. Make there be a real punishment for transferring twice. I mean, I'm all about that life. I think that's fair. But I don't even think there should be any stipulation. Just it's black and white. If you transfer if this is how they're going to make it now, which again, it's bad. It's just bad, unfortunate for Darrell Jackson, man. That if you're going to make it where the only way you can really be eligible for that second transfer is for something like you just talked about, well, don't even have that. Just say you can't. But you can still go be on a team. You can still transfer, and you can still get a scholarship. and you can still practice. You just won't be eligible to play in a game until the next year. I'm not saying you have to sit there and be hazed. You can go transfer like Darrell Jackson. Darrell Jackson's on scholarship at Florida State. So he is closer to his mom. He just can't play. And again, this sounds like I'm defending it. I'm not at all. I think it sucks, honestly. I think it sucks that it took 8 months to tell this kid that he couldn't play. If you were going to make up your mind, you could have done it 7 months ago. But if you're going to have where the kid can't transfer a second time, unless it's that reason, then just have it that 2-time transfers have to sit out a year. But they are eligible for scholarships at their new school.
Yeah, man, there's just a lot of layers to this. I don't really want to dive too much deeper into it. I mean, I also think, the NCAA clearly cannot regulate or police NIL. I think this is kind of a roundabout way for them to do these sort of things when they think it's involved, when it's like pay to play is involved. When you're on social media and you're tweeting about, John Ruiz's cigar boat racing team, and then you're tweeting about a collective at your new university. I'm sure they're looking at that kind of stuff. And listen, they're being vindictive about it. I mean, that's not a rule. That's not part of the stipulations that they put into effect January 11th or whatever it was. But I think this is all kind of ways for the NCAA to try to assert some sort of order in college athletics. And unfortunately, Florida State kind of on the bad end of this one, as well as Baba Miller, which is a completely unrelated circumstance. But that's kind of two things here in 2 years now the NCAA's kind of left Florida State out to dry with.
And it's like the NCAA does nothing that matters. The very foundation of college athletics is splitting into a million pieces. And here they are making sure a kid can't move back home and be eligible immediately. That's what because they can do something about that. They feel like they can, hey, we're making a decision. We still have it. We still have teeth. We still have an impact in this sport. You're ineligible. Hey, you at North Carolina, you're ineligible. But as the sport crumbles, because Greg Sankey is essentially the commissioner of college football. He runs the NCAA. Greg Sankey is and whoever the Big Ten commissioner is now, I can't remember. It's not Kevin Warren anymore. Yeah. Those two guys are the puppeteers. They're the power structure. Everybody else doesn't matter. So the NCAA wants to little nickel and dime stuff like this. That's what they feel. I don't know if it makes them feel important. And again, I don't want people to think that 5 minutes ago I was defending this decision. I'm not. I'm just saying if they're going to have a rule. Make it a black and white rule. Then we don't have to wait until 5 days into preseason practice to know that this kid isn't going to play. He would have known immediately. He might have stayed at Miami so he could play. Now he's in limbo because you waited 8 months to make it official.
Yeah, the timeline decision-making process is pretty deplorable. But I mean, I get it. Listen, they did not want to allow kids to be able to freely transfer twice, so they put this in play. And it's you see the statement that the North Carolina receiver released, and he talked about, like, I have anxiety now because of all the stress going on with my grandmother, which it's like it feels like that's trying to kind of fit into the lane of the legislation that the NCAA has listed out, which is crazy you're trying to have to, thread this needle and get into a proper legal stance, if you will, for this kind of stuff. But them the rules. We'll see if there is maybe another sort of appeal process here, but it sounds like for sure, for now at least, that Darrell Jackson will not be eligible to play in games in 2023. By the way, Big Ten commissioners Tony Petitti.
Okay.
Tony Petitti. So
Petitti Potato.
Formerly the chief operating officer of Major League Baseball. I didn't know that.
Oh, I didn't either.
Look at that.
All right.
So, not bad. All right, let's get to practice, Corey. But first, let's talk about our good friends over at Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. Promo code is WARCHAMP, BOGO, BOGO. Feeling the blues? Darrell Jackson didn't get that waiver? Just take some caffeine, 260 milligrams of it, and no sugar, and not 16 ounces to make you bloated. So, a good punch of energy, no sugar, so no crash, and vitamins. It's the first word in the product, Vitamin Energy. VitaminEnergy.com, promo code WARCHAMP, BOGO. Shake it and take it. Use that promo code. Buy one. Get an item of equal or lesser value for absolutely free. The B12, 14,000%. The Immune Plus, the Focus Plus, the Pre-Workout Plus. And don't forget, they also have the capsules now. They can just take with you and pop it along and moving on with your day. VitaminEnergy.com. Use the promo code WARCHANTBOGO. All right, practice otherwise on Tuesday. Spirited. Maybe not as much spirit as Mike Norvell said he wanted to see, but I thought they were quite spirited. Plays back and forth. Who won the day for you? For me, I thought the Patrick Payton had a play towards the end of practice in an 11-on-11 situation, which I think was an overtime period, where he just absolutely just blew up whoever was in front of him and got to a ball carrier on a handoff. It was like one of those ooh, like everybody in the IPF was like ooh. So he's my MVP of the day. I don't know who won, the offense or defense. What did you see, Corey, with your discerning eye?
I thought the defense won, but I thought it was mainly because the offense was sloppy. I thought Jordan missed some throws that he should make. There were some drops. Johnny, and look, it's one-on-ones, but Johnny got deep for like a 40 or 50-yard ball past Azareye'h Thomas, who I want to talk about in a second, and just dropped it. Can't have that. Now, he's done it a few times, but I think that's life with Johnny Wilson. It is. Keon Coleman dropped one, but he catches almost everything. I can't get over. I think this has a chance to be an elite wide receiver core, not just a good one recently for Florida State. I think it could be elite. And these DBs hang right with them. Yep. And I'm talking about young DBs too. Like, they really do compete, and it's fun to see. It's fun to see Azareye'h, who's a second-year player, taking the challenge of Johnny Wilson and basically followed him around in one-on-ones and followed him around in 7-on-7 and in 11-on-11. He got matched up with him a lot today, and he won, I think, probably as many as he lost. What's cool about that matchup is that the very first play of tempo, which is we've talked about, is that third period where it's the offense versus the defense. They go down and almost always they set up a field goal. I think the principle is like it's 40 seconds, one timeout. I don't know what they're doing, but it's the only time all day where they actually drive down the field if they make a play. So the very first play, Jordan throws a ball that Johnny catches over Azareye'h for about 25 yards. Typical Johnny Wilson catch. What can you do? The next play, Jordan Travis keeps it around left end, and Johnny Wilson basically blocks Azareye'h off the field. Which, it was so much so that you're like, man, did Azareye'h anger them? What did he do to them yesterday? But then, so you're like, okay, Johnny's up. Johnny's playing well. In one-on-ones, Azareye'h broke up a couple of passes intended for Johnny. Now, he had the one that he dropped, but Azareye'h broke up a couple of more. And then in 11-on-11 red zone, maybe 30 minutes later, Azareye'h picks off a pass and it's intended for Johnny. Thanks in large part to Braden Fisk being right in Jordan Travis's face, because Braden Fisk appears to be really good.
It's got a motor, doesn't stop.
He absolutely does. So that's what I like to see. And then there was also a 7-on-7 where he broke up a pass. And there was a 7-on-7 where Johnny Wilson caught one for a touchdown. It was an 8-yard touchdown. I don't want you to think it was like a 50-yard touchdown. It was a tight red zone drill, 7-on-7. But isn't that what's cool kind of about this now? Is Azareye's taking a step up, because if he doesn't, he'll be embarrassed. Because these guys will embarrass you. But these DBs, I think so far through 5 practices, have genuinely answered the challenge. And I think the defense has not lost a day yet. I think they've tied a few. I think maybe these last 2 were ties because the offense did have some nice plays. But overall, this defense is not getting torched. And this defense happens to be going up what might be one of the 5 best offenses in the country. And they are absolutely holding their own so far, which is good to see, right?
Yeah, and Tuesday was a day where, listen, I know you give much more benefit of the doubt, maybe rightly, to Jordan when it comes to plays where there's pressure in his face. But there was a couple plays where they blew it dead, and I'm like, that felt kind of legitimate. Like, I like Jordan's chances most times, but I'm like, they probably would have been able to get a hand on him and bring him down. Like, there was good pressure on him too from the defense. But I like the fact that, you did mention the other day about you want to see Azareye'h, start making plays against, guys that are maybe a little bit higher on the depth chart on the other side of the ball. And the fact that it happened that quickly, maybe they're listening out there, Corey. Maybe they're listening.
Probably that. I think Adam Fuller driving in was like, you know what? It's a good idea. Yeah. Let me shoot a text to Azareye'h right now and tell him he's going up against 14.
Yeah. I saw Jabril Rawls had a pretty nice play, good coverage on a play when they were in the red zone against Brock Glenn operating the offense. So it was good to see some of these true freshmen also getting involved. Conrad Hussey was out there moving around, bouncing around, doing things, if you will. I really do like Edwin Joseph. Like Edwin Joseph does seem to have a nice kind of edge to him, if you will, or just a confidence level, whether it's his skill set or just knowing what they want from him. He's just able to play pretty free, pretty loose. So just to underscore your thoughts on the young defensive backs. Good to see our guy Vandrevius Jacobs out there making a play today.
He made a couple, man. He made a couple.
Can't throw deuces, though, when you're running by guys, Vandrevius. That'll maybe get you flagged. Doing a little Tyreek Hill action out there. But some people were asking why we didn't talk about him. He was in a green jersey. You saw it in the videos. But on Tuesday he was not. So we have not forgot about Vandrevius. What else did?
Yeah,
what
those
other plays did he
DBs, especially because it was more of like scout team, third team guys he was going up against on Tuesday. But they probably wish he had stayed in the green jersey. He was really good. He had I think he had like a 43-yard touchdown in 7-on-7. He had a long win in 11-on-11s.
I think A.J. Duffy threw it to him, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. And what was funny about that, I didn't see it, but Ira did, that this is kind of cool, actually. He talked about it on headlines. After that play, Johnny Wilson, Kentron, and Keon all went over to the big screen where they replay it to watch it again, and they just started chuckling. And then I can't remember who he said did it. Maybe Kentron flashed up the deuces. No. Which is like they really do celebrate each other's achievements. Like they were kind of shaking their head and chuckling, like, golly, this, like basically saying, yeah, that's no chance you're stopping that kid on that play. And then maybe they were laughing that he flashed the deuces, but that kid is electric, and Destin Hill is electric. Winston Wright is coming along to the point where he is going to be I think a pretty big time contributor. And then, you've got the two superstars out wide. This is a pretty intense collection of talent at wide receiver, young and old, with different skill sets. It's a really kind of cool combination of guys. And again, I'm sorry I keep bringing up headlines. It's just that I did it a few hours ago while we're recording this. I was talking about watching Keon Coleman and just appreciating what he is. He might be a better receiver than Johnny Wilson. And you guys know I love Johnny Wilson. But Keon's probably a more complete receiver. Johnny is he's a freak that is just almost impossible to cover. But those two together are just that is a problem, man. I don't know what you do. Keon's a little more smooth, obviously, in his release and coming out of breaks. Johnny is a little more indefensible. What can you do? Like there are catches he makes every day in practice that Buffalo Bills defenders couldn't do anything about. He's just going to make them. He either catches them or he doesn't, but you don't have an impact on it. He's just a different body type. He is a different guy than you usually see on a football field. He is a unicorn. Keon Coleman isn't a unicorn because he's 6'3.5". He's not 6'7". But gosh darn it, he is really, really good. And he's better than I thought he was, and I knew he was good. But now seeing it in person for 5 days, you realize, oh, yeah, that's how he had 5 for 155 against Michigan. He is just really hard to stop. We knew it was a big signing when they got him. He might be worth an extra win. He might be worth 5 or 6 extra points a game if he stays healthy. I am all in on Keon Coleman. That guy is the truth, and he just makes this offense even – oh, and by the way, I just wanted to point this out real quick. Jaheim Bell had a great catch. I don't know if you saw it. I think it was in red zone 7-on-7. Jordan was rolling right and whipped a ball to him from a really close distance. Like he's right at the goal line. Jordan's, 10 yards away, and he throws it, I would guess 70 miles. I mean, he just ripped it as hard as he could because it was a tight window. And Jaheim Bell just snatched that thing for a touchdown. I mean, golly, he's in Marqueson. I mean, they got some weapons, man. It's pretty insane what they're doing right now. But again, the defense is holding its own and kind of then some.
We're not a participation trophy program, but I mean, I'm doing it. I'm grading on a curve, kind of, because I just don't know who else compares to what Johnny Wilson is. To your point about them holding their own, and some of these plays that Johnny makes, I'm just like, all right, well, they were on his hip, stride for stride. They played his hands well, but Johnny was just able to snatch it and hold on to it. I'm not giving like a check plus to the DB in that play, Corey, but I'm giving him like a check.
Right.
I'm like, I feel like that's going to hunt. That's going to probably slow down, Antonio Williams or whoever Clemson wants to roll out there, and, Kyron Lacey or whoever LSU is going to roll out there. So, I mean, I think part of what I'm looking at, and some people might be like, well, make up your mind. Is the offense doing really good or are the DBs doing really well? Man, I think you can have a little bit of both in this situation, because I do think there are some things that just Johnny does that you simply cannot really defend against. And if you can just be in the same vicinity, be in phase, I think that's a win, because it'll carry over to the competition that doesn't have that skill set.
Yeah, and look, man, there's no better practice for what you're going to see in game. You're not going to see anything like that in a game. So the fact that they have ripped some balls out, Renardo especially, but Azarie the last couple days, I thought, or today in particular, had some PBUs on Johnny, like really went and fought and tried to rip the ball out because it had strong hands and karate chops, whatever you're doing to try to get him to get rid of the ball. They're doing it. Azarie and Renardo specifically on him, and have done a really good job with it. I think there's just sometimes, like you said, there's nothing you can do. But when you get into a game against a team that doesn't have Johnny Wilson, and you're in phase, and you jump up and compete like that, you're probably at worst going to bat it down. You might go pick the thing off, which is what Azarie did earlier in the practice. So, again, all in all, good. Oh, and also, I don't think we mentioned it yet, but Quindarius Jones caught my eye again.
Good. Welcome.
Tuesday. He is an aggressive, physical cornerback that what I like about him is, say a receiver catches the ball on him, or they're both going for the ball, he is physical and so competitive. Like, he's not there just being like, okay, it's a one-on-one, you caught it, big deal. He's trying his best, everything he's got to rip the ball out.
Yeah, he's not grabbing jerseys. He's crafty with it too. Like, he's not,
Yeah, Greedy. Now, Greedy has had a really good camp too so far, but Greedy is a holdy guy.
Didn't want to mention names, but all right.
Well, he is. He grabs you a little bit. They can't call it on every play, but he's pretty handsy. And then there was one play today that I really didn't like from Shaheem, who's had a fine start to camp, and he also blocked a field goal Tuesday by Ryan Fitzgerald. Got free for a field goal block. He was in one-on-ones. He's matched up against Keon Coleman, which is not a good matchup for probably any safety in America. But he just kind of, when the ball was snapped, he just kind of went and grabbed him. Like, so blatantly that nobody wasn't going to throw a flag. Like, if everybody, all of us in the media that were watching it, had flags in our pockets, we all would have thrown it. It was just so obvious that it made it almost non-competitive. Like, don't just grab. Yes, he's a really hard matchup, and yes, you probably can't cover him. But let him get a rep, and let you get a rep trying to cover him. Don't just give up and tackle the kid, which I thought he did only on that play. Shaheem's a great competitor, and he's really good. I know it's hard covering Keon Coleman, but I felt like in that moment, he's like, this guy's not beating me for a touchdown. I am just going to grab him and by both shoulders and not let him move, which is what he did, which to me was kind of a wasted rep. That's all, because I expect more out of Shaheem Brown. I think he's good. I think he has a chance to be really, really good. And take advantage of getting to go against one of the best receivers in the country. Don't just grab him. Like, try to work on it a little bit. That was my thought just on that play.
Well, also in that OT period towards the end of practice, like Patrick Payton on the first play had a big hit, blew it up. Second play, they tried to go to Johnny, and Shaheem was in coverage and had pretty good coverage.
Really good. Yeah, I thought he and I think Azarie was on kind of trailing. Yeah. But Shaheem was really in a good spot there and did a nice job right there.
Yeah, so the defense did well, and then Patrick Payton next play, pressure too. So it would have been 3 and out per se because they've been kicking the ball quite well. So I felt good about whoever was going to kick the ball after maybe coming away without a touchdown in that overtime.
Also, real quick, just because you mentioned kicking, I did see Keon drop a punt.
I saw Lawrence field one really nicely.
Okay, all right. So maybe it's the gap's closing. I didn't like seeing Keon drop that. He doesn't really drop much of anything. So he had that one hit off his chest and go down.
MyBookie.ag, promo code is WARCHANT. Use it when you sign up for the first time. You'll get an instant cash deposit bonus. As you're listening to this, I think 22 days away from the game between the Gators and Utah in Great Salt Lake. The Utes handing out 8 points. I don't care about that. Just bet them straight up on the money line. Minus 340. Not good value, but we're gonna power. We're gonna will the Utes to a win in their finale in the Pac-12 as they head to greener pastures.
Is Micah practicing? Do we know? Is he going to be able to play in that game?
I'll have to check that. I'll have to check our sources out
tomorrow's
there.
show. We'll
Absolutely.
do it for tomorrow's
Absolutely.
show.
Over under 48.5. Maybe take the under on that. Utah lost that tight end of theirs. Florida's got to break in a new quarterback. Graham Mertz, So maybe we'll offer the under as we are a few weeks away from that one. But check out mybookie.ag for everything else in the meantime. Horse racing, darts, cricket, Canadian football, esports, and their live casino. mybookie.ag. Use that promo code WARCHANT. Last thing on the way out here, Corey. Saw this on Get Up on ESPN. I know, whatever. Imitation sincerest form of flattery. I don't know if it's worth imitating it, but they had this segment where it was bad start or a bad sign. Tell me what you think. It's only been 5 practices. We'll see 6 today, and then 7 and 8 when we're in Jacksonville later this week. Backup quarterback is not something I lose sleep over, but it's a question that we would get a lot during the offseason. What's the record if Jordan misses a few games or if Jordan misses the whole season? And is the quarterback for 2024 that's going to start in Ireland on the roster right now? Maybe I have stronger answers for those kind of questions now. Is it a bad start or a bad sign, you think, with the performance that you're seeing out of Tate Rodemaker? I don't want to really classify A.J. Duffy and brought Glenn on the same level, but how would you classify maybe Tate's performances thus far? And do you see it as a bad sign or maybe just a bad start for our guy?
I think it's a bad start. I don't think it's a bad sign necessarily. What I'd like to see, which is, again, I don't know what the rationale is for like the grouping sometimes with their quarterbacks. I just don't feel like I've seen Tate work a lot with guys that will be playing a lot. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Out wide.
Yeah.
I want to see him maybe get and I know we will. Norvell said they would do that. That's why I'm bringing it up. Norvell said they will mix and match with these quarterbacks and give them all looks with the ones, quote unquote, or the guys that are in the rotation. Tate, for whatever reason, I feel like the last 2 days hasn't gotten a lot of that. That said, I don't think Tate was very good the last 2 days. He's thrown some ugly picks and some ugly are balls that definitely should have been picked. He's missed on a couple of wheel routes where he kind of just threw off his back foot and was behind the running back, or stopped it, threw it short. He hasn't looked real comfortable. And I thought, but we're also 5 days in. And I want to see him get a chance to look comfortable. And I say that, I think it was the second or third practice. He was incredible. It might have been the second practice. He was really good. No, it was the first one in shoulder pads. Sorry. Where he went, he went 9 for 9 and 7 on 7. He hit everything. And then in 11 on 11, he made a really nice throw to Marqueston Douglas down the seam. So that's the thing about Tate, man. And it's been this way for years. He'll have a moment or two or a practice or a week where you're like, holy moly. That he looks like an NFL quarterback. He's got the arm strength. He's got the size. He's fast, faster than you think anyway. He can throw from multiple arm angles. And then there's other times where it just looks like he's trying to force it and he doesn't see it as well as you want him to see it starting his 4th year in the system. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think consistency is what separates like great players from good players.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm just wondering at what point we see some of that bad stuff flush itself out. And also it's like bad days. I'm fine if you have a bad period. I get it, and this is all crazy too. And we're sitting here talking about one team, one single day, maybe not even one period, but like one bad throw, one bad play can kind of sour the way that we feel about a guy in the moment as we sit here and talk about things on a podcast. But like this week, the first 2 days, just haven't seen kind of like a steady, consistent, highly performing Tate, which we've seen before. We saw it in spring. We felt good about it. But, I'll go with you, too. I think it's a bad start, not a bad sign. So
yeah, because he's had we'll see. He's got, obviously today and then in Jacksonville when the pads come on. We'll see how he responds. Hopefully he responds well. But I think, the difference between like a Tate right now and a Jordan is I didn't think Jordan was very sharp on Tuesday. I didn't think it was – I thought it might have been his worst practice of the 5. But he still had multiple touchdown passes in 7 on 7. He only had one interception, and that came on like basically a a bad throw with Braden Fisk right in his face that he kind of just tossed up to his 6'7" kid, and Azaria Thomas made a great play on it. He didn't make a ton of bad decisions, and he didn't kill you.
Yeah.
Some of the decisions Tate makes when he's not playing well could kill the game. And that's the difference. That's what you kind of want to see him eliminate. You know he's always going to take shots. You know he's always going to hopefully make some big plays with his right arm. But you don't want him to just derail the entire game because he makes 3 or 4, bewildering decisions. So, again, I also want to give him the benefit of the doubt, though. He's not getting to throw a lot to the guys that Jordan gets to throw to. And I think that will probably change, and they'll start working that in a little bit. But you get it, right? Like Jordan has to get he has to get timing with Keon Coleman.
Right.
Jordan should always be thrown to Keon Coleman, and him and Johnny are kind of attached to the hip because they obviously have a connection. So you want Jordan to develop this. That's more important than Tate. But once I think they feel like Jordan has developed that with the guys that'll be playing a lot, I think then you let 18 come in and try to just make some plays and get some confidence and feel good about them.
Your lovely fiance just texted us. And also, as I look at my Twitter, I saw this, and I need to mention it before we go. The Tomahawk Chop is the name of this individual, Mike Flynn, not the former, commander or whatever he was. Right? Was that Michael Flynn? Guy was also in Trump's cabinet. We don't want to talk politics, though. Anyhow.
Right.
My brothers begged me to drive them 2 hours to eat at Corner Pocket because of how much they talk about it on the Wake Up Warchant podcast. Let's just say I made the drive. And he tags us, and he also included a photo of the menu. So he drove 2 hours, and apparently Stephanie says that there's a table of 6 kids here that drove 2 hours to come play trivia because of the show. They could not believe that the real Corey Clark was about to be here. So,
not the real Aslan, though. No spot on the trivia team for you, dog.
Yeah, man. Exactly. If there was, I'd be there.
Well, that's exciting. I can't wait. That really is cool. I hope Bill sees that.
Yeah.
Money well spent, my man. We got people driving 2 hours, Bill. Yeah. Maybe from a different time zone.
Right.
To come see Corner Pocket. So that's exciting.
Yeah,
it's a great spot. It's a great spot, everyone.
Yeah. This is a great spot to advertise your business. Reach out to Aslan at warchant.com. We have Renegade Express up. We'll name it the Renegade Express, whatever your company is. So that's available too. Things are drying up inventory-wise, but get at me. Also, did we mention anything about Ashlyn Barker having a takeaway? I saw Adam Fuller tweeted out a mission takeaway thing, gave him a forced fumble recovery in team period.
Yeah, I saw that. I wasn't sure if that was a Morlock drop or a forced fumble, but it was a really good play. Like it was made by Barker. It was a really nice play. I just don't know if he actually had control before he fumbled it. But Barker really did a nice job on that play to get the ball loose. And before we get out of here, Aslan, we should also note that guys, you got to rest easy. I know this realignment stuff gets old, but not only are Cal and Stanford maybe on the way, but according to Twitter, Ross Dellinger, a friend of the show, the ACC is making overtures towards SMU.
Oh, let's go, Ponies! Come on, Dallas is cool city.
Sure.
Yeah. All right.
That'd be a huge boon for the ACC to get all that SMU money.
I can't believe we're going to have to come hat in hand to Jim Phillips and be like, "All right, you want us back over."
Yeah.
Well done. I couldn't imagine.
So, and also people might bemoan the fact that Stanford and Cal are not exactly football powers in the traditional sense, but I did look it up. Cal has been ranked number 1 before, Aslan.
All right.
I want you to know that.
Yeah, I know, man.
1951.
Good year.
And Stanford, the highest they've ever been ranked. And now Stanford had a very good turn of the decade with Andrew Luck and then into Christian McCaffrey. They actually were a real program there for a while.
Yep.
A good one. Not a real program, a real good program. They got ranked as high as number 2. That's the highest they've ever been ranked. And that was 1940.
Okay.
So,
well, all you need to be is in the top 12 nowadays, man, and you'll get into the playoffs. So I'm sure they've been in the top 12 a lot of times. So
yeah, well, that's right. It's a good point, Aslan. Really good point. Well said.
Just trying to help out my friends on the left coast, fellow coastal elite over here.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to make sure those water polo kids have a home. This is just too much. I can't stand it. And the equestrian. I mean, think of all those poor equestrian kids.
No one thinks about the equestrian guys.
Or the horses. No. What are they gonna do with those horses now?
Glue factory.
I mean, yeah, exactly, man. I mean, good grief. This is what college football's done. Thanks a lot, Greg Sankey.
All right, that's it. We're done, but we're not done at all for the week, everybody. 2 more shows coming your way. We're 5 days a week. They're practicing. We're talking. It's what we do. Jeff Cameron Show, 1 to 3 o'clock, 93.3 FM in Tallahassee, as well as Warchant TV, our YouTube page. Subscribe to that. And again, subscribe to warchant.com. Promo's running out. $1 for a whole month. Try it. You'll like it, but you won't be able to get 25% off an entire year after your month is over. So just believe in us. Like this guy believed in us to drive 2 hours to eat a corner pocket.
Unbelievable.
Believe in us to take the 25% discount and sign up for an entire year of warchant.com. Let us know. We'll retweet you, and we'll talk about you on the program and shine some love on you because we appreciate the heck out of y'all. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Stay connected to warchant.com, the ultimate Seminole sports source. And thank you for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.